In this lesson, we'll use some geometry to create a base for the trucks of the skateboard. So we need to create kind of a rectangular metal piece with some raised areas to be able to attach the trucks to. So for this, we can go over to a Create panel, and instead of a standard primitive, let's look and see what we've got under NURBS surfaces. We've got two types of surfaces that we can create, and again, as I said, the NURBS surface is going to be basically a four-sided patch, but we can choose to have the points on the surface, or we can choose a CV surface, which will have the points sitting off of the surface. I like to use the CV surface because it's a little bit more, I'm a little bit more comfortable with it. It's a little bit more of a traditional NURBS look to it and how we're able to interact with it. So with this selected in the top view, I'm just going to go ahead and drag out from one corner to another corner this piece here. Now, without right-clicking, I'm just ending that process, but without right-clicking, I can go in and now change the number of CVs along the length and the width. So we need to have some resolution to be able to pull up some detail from this. So I'm going to set this to maybe 14 or so, and let's set the width to something like 8. Go ahead and set that back down. And right now it's facing up, and I really want it to face down, so I'm going to go ahead and flip the normals. Okay, now we can right-click to get out of that process, and I'll take this and just move it down below the skateboard. So it's facing down, and it's sitting down below the skateboard. Okay, so let's go ahead now and modify this. If I go to Surface CVs, let's go to the top view here. If I select Surface CVs, I want to select two areas to pull up. So I'm going to skip 2 points and then grab basically these 4 right in the middle, and then I'll do the same thing over here on this side. So that gives us 2 in the middle, and we've got these 2 squares of CVs selected. Alright, we'll go into our perspective, get into our perspective here, and let's just pull those down. Let's pull them down like that. And you can see we've got the CVs, they're actually sitting off of that surface. You can see the smooth NURBS surface happening underneath. Alright, so if we want to change, that looks a little bit rough, we can always change our surface approximation by going into the surface approximation rollout, and I'm just going to choose a high preset. If your geometry looks a little bit rough in the viewport, the NURBS geometry that we're using to create has to be tessellated into polygons. So we can set our tessellation presets to low, medium, high, and you've also got the option to set that for your renderer as well. Okay, so we now want to create some thickness for this. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the NURBS creation toolbox. We open that up. Alright, and let's create our surface edge curve. And let's do that all the way around. And all the way down here. And then at the other end as well. Okay, let's now take those curves. We'll select all of those curves, and let's hold down Shift and move those up. Okay, let's not include the rational parent. Let's make a copy of that, and that'll move those curves up, and let's go ahead and scale those out a little. Give it a little bit of a flare. Okay, so now what we can do is create geometry between these curves. Okay, so let's try maybe a U-loft. We can go ahead and select one curve and then the following curve, and if we need to, we can go ahead and reverse flip our normals, and that'll create some nice geometry between there. Let's go ahead and repeat that process, and again, right click and then flip the normals if it happens to be black. Go ahead and repeat that process. This one's fine. And we'll go ahead and do the last one. Again, with our U-loft, and it highlights in blue. Right click to get out. Before you go, hit flip normals. Alright, so that'll give us a nice base for the truck of our skateboard. And this is a little bit large, so we'll go ahead and just scale this down a bit. We can scale it in the X as well. Alright, and then we can pop this right up into the bottom of the skateboard and give it a little bit more of a position that we like. Maybe something like that. We don't have to build both of these. We'll be able to duplicate those later. But now that we've got the kind of the base of the skateboard truck, let's go ahead now and start to build some of the pieces for the truck. So these pieces are going to be a little bit more complex, and they'll be interacting a little bit more than what we've done so far. But we'll be able to look at how we can do that, and we'll start to look at how we can change some primitives into NURBS objects to get a little bit more of a head start on creating specific shapes rather than trying to build things from scratch. So we'll look at how we can do all of that in the next lesson.